Welcome, everyone. I'm sitting here with Chris and David, Treantmonk and DM David. Welcome, guys. We were just talking about David's new article, Five Tropes That Make Exciting Stories But Ruin D&D Games, and kind of reminiscing about some of the adventures we've run where you try and capture a party, and if that party maybe took some hints from Treantmonk, you might have a really hard time capturing that party. Hey, Cade, thanks for joining. I got some questions in the
Glad to be
wing,
here.
and I'll anyone, if you guys have any questions, ask anytime. David, your website is just dmdavid.com, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Go check out that article, everyone. Good stuff there. And we have our special guest here, Chris. We're going to go over Cthulhu by Torchlight. There's Doug. Hey, Doug. And let me pull up Cthulhu by Torchlight. This was a surprise. Kind of dropped without any kind of preview happening. It was just there.
Yeah, I wasn't even allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. And so it's sitting up there. Hello, Solo Diggity. Sitting up there on the D&D Beyond site. One of the first questions we have, and I don't know if you know this or have any insight at all. This came from X. Josh said, "Can we get a physical edition?" Do you know if there's anything in the works?
That's no. I was hired on contract to do design.
Got it.
So whatever contracts they have with D&D Beyond and all that stuff, I know as much as you know.
There you are. Game design and development. I remember when 5th edition 1D&D was going through its development cycles. I'm like, they just need to hire Chris. They just need to hire Chris because he's finding all these things that's wrong with it, putting it up on his, videos every time. And sure enough, they release it, and right away you're like, here's 10 things wrong that you got to fix right away. So,
well, Magic the Gathering's design process kind of led to you, at least inspired your participation on this project, right?
I'm not.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I watched.
Yeah. Mike was in charge of Magic the Gathering for a while.
Yeah, he mentioned on the stream you hosted with him, which was excellent, that they have a team of developers from Magic competitions that are just there to look at the sets and find out what's optimized, what's going to play well, what's not going to play well. And man, they should tear a page from that process for the Wizards design team. And ironically, Mike Merles has been off the Wizards design team for 10 or so years, but
not quite that long, but
okay.
maybe eight.
Yeah. And he was the one who took that page, on behalf of Chaosium.
And they actually did that with 4th edition D&D as well. There was a forum on the Wizards of the Coast website, like a message forum, and there was an optimization community there. There was an optimization forum, and they approached prominent members of that community and had them look at the 4th edition rules.
Were you approached?
I was not approached.
Not approached at that time. So how did Mike reach out to you?
I got do you know Mastering Dungeons? Okay. So Baron contacted me on Discord, and I've never met Baron before either, but he obviously had my contact information on Discord, and he said, Mike Merles wants to get in touch with you. Do you want me to set something up? I'm like, yes.
Very cool. And then how did the process go? So you were given drafts?
Yeah. Okay. So this was all started beginning of April. So he offered me, he said, what I want, we're doing this project, this Call of Cthulhu for D&D. We would like you to take a look and do a power gauge. That's what he wanted me to do, was a power gauge on things. And he said, would you be interested in going over the stuff and and doing that. And I said, sure, yeah, that sounds interesting. And they made a payment offer that I thought was really generous. And so I'm like, I can definitely make that happen. And then I was looking, so he sent me a rough draft of subclasses first, and all 12 subclasses were there. And then I emailed him. I read a few of them, and then I emailed him and I said, listen, I can do the power thing that you wanted me to do, but I'd be happy with current pay to do a more thorough thing here, because I think there's some redesign that could be good. I'm seeing some mechanics stuff that's unclear, all that kind of stuff. And but I would need to be blunt, if that's okay. And he said, yes, that's exactly, I would love that. So I ended up doing like a 78-page document of notes on these subclasses.
Wow.
But I would send him updates. This subclass is done. This subclass is done. This subclass is done. And to each subclass took about a day of work.
Yeah.
Then basically I included, okay, so here's your power level blurb. This is too powerful. This is not powerful enough. Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, this one, I think it's a little boring. We could make it more interesting this way. Have you thought about, I think there's some possibilities for subclasses that are untapped with this class, that we could fit that in. And here's my suggestion on how this class might look. And then I would just do the subclass and word it all feature by feature by feature. And I sent that all to him, and then he went with it. And with the final version, I'd say about, as far as the subclasses go, about 40% of it is stuff that I did.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Real quick, everyone, if you have any questions for Chris, just let us know in the chat. We'll see if Chris can answer them. I'm trying to give away this Ghosts of Dragonspear Castle extra copy I have. Speaking of old rules, did you ever read those rules, Chris? That's
no.
That's really early 5th edition, before they had bonus actions. Shield spell was a 4, not a 5 for armor class. A lot of neat little tweaks in there. But I have an extra copy. I'm going to give it away sometime if I ever get enough super chats. A couple upcoming games. I'm going to be at Gen Con running Darkness and Null. And also we got a d20play RPG, Dragon Delves 2 on 8/7. It's full right now, but if you're interested, let us know and I'll add you as an alternate. So back to the show. Oh, and next week, Chubby Funster's coming on, who is a big Shadow Dark author. So you had a lot of input on the subclasses.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention then, after the subclasses were done, then he sent me 4 of the monsters, like the big ones, the old ones, right? Because he wanted some feedback on those. So I helped design those as well and balance those for their high CR, right? So
yeah.
we needed
them
to be appropriately challenging, which I think they are now. Like I suggested some significant redesigns, and they're pretty scary.
How do you make a monster like Cthulhu a appropriate ass kicking for 20?
Well, I had to clarify with Mike, because I'm like, okay, so I've played Call of Cthulhu, and Cthulhu is not supposed to be defeatable. Do you want something just to, that the players will never ever be able to take on, or are you just looking for a really powerful D&D monster, right? And he was looking for a really powerful D&D monster. So in theory, if you got a 20th level party and they're tactically smart, and they have some information going in, they can theoretically win this fight.
Yeah. CR30. I could see beating a CR30.
Yeah. Sure. Well, what considerations did you come up with to make it stand up as a good fight?
Yeah. So the first thing I did is I went to the monster manual. I looked at the Tarrasque, right? And I'm like, let's use that as a guideline for how much damage it should do. What's its chance to hit? Then what I did is I took, he had some features for it. There was he had a weird design originally. It wasn't CR30 originally. It was 4 CR6s or something combined as one creature. It was a very odd mechanic. And I'm like, why don't you just make it a high CR? But I adjusted mainly some for the features on there. I adjusted some wording. I closed up some gaps. I adjusted some DCs, and I thought of. I'm good at thinking of ways that players might subvert things.
Right.
So I specifically made sure that Cthulhu is gonna not be just shut down. Right.
Right. So one question that's might come up here is what are the new Great Weapon Master / Sharpshooter things in the game to watch out for? And one thing I noticed a lot of high level characters can do is really lock down movement without saves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have his movement up there to 60, so he's pretty safe from that, I'd say, right?
Well,
30,
I mean, if you
get locked down,
if you change his speed to 0, then his speed is 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Question.
But I think he's pretty scary if he's got a speed of 0 too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to give the big bad monsters ranged attacks of some sort nowadays too. They can't just be speed of 30 and melee only.
No,
because they will be locked down.
Yeah,
and even legendary because it's not a save thing, right?
And you always got to think what happens if they get put in a wall of force, or what is their way to have the combat continue, right?
Yeah. So let's look at the subclasses. What were you looking for in the subclasses to make sure they could not be over optimized? And did you get some that you said right away, oh no, that's way too good, that can be
there were
optimized?
Yeah, I'd say there were as many that I said were too powerful as I said were not powerful enough. And maybe more. There were whole subclasses where I'm like, every single feature is too powerful here.
Yeah.
But a lot of those saw significant, like, not just tweaking, like they were thrown in the garbage and the whole thing was redone, right? I mean, I think the subclasses are pretty powerful, all 12 of them. My goal was to have no throwaway subclasses, right? I wanted every subclass to be one that you would think is a good selection, right? But I was trying not to have subclasses that were must-haves, though I think there's certain classes where that's hard to do and still have a decent subclass. If you're doing the ranger, it's got to be a good ranger, right? Like, because there's the current subclasses just don't quite cut it, in my opinion. So I was thinking, okay, this one's going to be better than those ones.
What did you do to make a good ranger?
Well, the way we went with ranger, and Mike deserves the credit here for the ranger, because the theme started out as this is a ranger that helps out the party, right? This isn't just he shoots the enemy and they die. He does other things. That is a teamwork aspect, and the teamwork die and everything. That's Mike as well. What I did is there was a lot of stuff that was add teamwork die to everyone's to hit rolls and damage rolls every turn. Right? It's like, you can't do that. That's too much. And so what I thought was, if we make the teamwork good enough, though, then we don't necessarily need a damage boost for the ranger, right? Because then they're boosting everyone else enough tactically that they're pulling their weight, even if they're not doing as much DPR to the bad guy as the fighter is, right? So I had to bring some stuff down, but I also looked for it to be a little more interesting as well. Like, I'm going off memory here. This was months ago, but like, there's one that I have where all your allies can move and hide as a reaction. It used to be they could move and attack the enemy and get a bonus to attack and damage. And I'm like, that's too much. But also, if they're protecting the party, maybe they should be able to allow the party to escape, right? Or get out of harm's way. So I kind of pushed it more in that direction. So I'm at fault there for not making a ranger that does a whole ton of damage. But I think the stuff it does is very useful.
Yeah, it's a new, unique take on it. I noticed, like in the wizard bibliomancy, it seems like maybe you tried, or Mike tried to resurrect a little bit of the stuff they were doing in the playtest, where they could tailor their spells.
And that is Mike.
Yeah.
I definitely changed some of these features because they were, some of them were bonkers.
It seems it might still be a little powerful.
I'm like, I can break the game with this. The one that I remember off the top of my head was there's one that where you don't have the level 10 feature, customized spell, where you don't have to concentrate on a spell for a target. That you used to be able to choose yourself as that target, and I'm just thinking of all the spells where if you can cast it on yourself, like self-only spells, and they don't require concentration, it's off the charts, right? And it's like, you can't do that. That's, you've broken the game. So I had to pull some of these down, but I suspect, Mike never told me, but I suspect he must have been inspired by the playtest, or he independently came up with similar ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that was a neat, fun thing that could have worked in the playtest. They just, I guess, didn't have enough time to really try it out.
Well, I think what happened was it got released and it was problematic.
Yeah,
and they got terrible feedback, right? And negative feedback, and they're like, it's negative enough. Let's just flush it. But I think what happened a lot with those surveys is they'd have a good idea with bad implementation, and then they would get negative feedback because of the bad implementation, and then they would throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah, it felt like they were really, I mean, they were crunched for time, right? It felt that way, and a little disappointing in that regard.
And I think it's tough when you're putting out something that is creative and different, to expect people to read it once and give you feedback that's going to be constructive.
Yeah.
And I don't think it always was. I think a lot of people, there was a lot of mob think, right? So there were good ideas in the playtest that never saw the light of day. Because they didn't do the right job with the first set. And the wizard is a good example of that. The really neat ideas there, and they just I think they got negative feedback and they just gave up.
I want to go back to this question from Josh. Can we get a physical edition or a physical edition? And I think Math Guy answered it for us. He said he asked Mike, and he answered, and it depends on sales, but they like Beyond only because he stops any confusion about what system the project is for. That's a good point. You know what it's for if it's on Beyond. So hopefully they'll get enough sales and there'll be a physical version of it. And then go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'm really knocked out by these subclasses for a couple of reasons. One is, if you look down that list of subclasses, there are things like shadow-oriented a rogue, a college of drama bard. There's a little bit of a link between these and Lovecraft and Call of Cthulhu, but these are great ideas that are really evocative for just any D&D game.
Yeah, and I should mention that the initial concepts for all the subclasses, I had nothing to do with. Those were all Mike. I helped with design, but not concept.
So yeah, a really good book for any game, because none of these really require the Cthulhu-esque stuff for them to work necessarily.
The hero sounds
I think every single one of these could fit into any campaign.
Yeah.
The hero kind of sounds like a warlord kind of concept, and I know that's been bantered around. Is that similar or different from other riffs on that warlord kind of thing, or?
Well, I'm not sure what's been done with the warlord, but there's no question the hero is the warlord subclass for fighter, right? Yeah.
Let me pull that up real quick. Let me say thanks, Doug, for the super chat, and he's trying to cheat the system and optimize the $5 to $4.99. I'll count it. I'll count it this one time, Doug. So let's look at that hero. Here we go. So what did you notice, David, that really stood out?
Well, you've got that sort of giving commands to the rest of the group. In fact, a lot of these classes have that leadership, teamwork theme where the class is powering up all their other party members by inspiring them or giving them commands or offering tactics or that kind of stuff. So I think that's a cool dynamic, and it's probably pretty hard to balance, because if you get an engine going with that kind of thing, if I were doing that with the subclass design, I'd want somebody who knows the system pretty well to vet it.
Yeah. Now I should say, I'm not omniscient. So, when it's a feature that is off the wall or untested, I can look at it and I can think of anything I can think of. Right. But there are probably things I didn't think of that can be done with these things, and time will tell, right? Somebody will see something I didn't see and figure out a way to make it work in a way I didn't imagine when I was helping with these. But I definitely plugged some holes. A fair number of holes I think I plugged.
This is interesting what Math Guy Dave says, and I don't know if Mike shared this with you or not, if you can comment. So some of this is Cthulhu, and some is Mile High, probably ideas.
Mike had ideas.
Mike had ideas for a decade he didn't get to use.
Yeah, I think a lot of these were going on in the back of his head since 5th edition came out, and then he was off the D&D team, and they just sat there.
Could contribute. Yeah. Speaking of D&D, so I'm going to come back to this one after we go through, but think about this one. What's the successor to Sharpshooter Weapon Master? What are you seeing really broken right now in 2024? We'll get back to that.
I mean, the spiritual successor to Great Weapon Master is Great Weapon Master.
Still just good.
Yeah, it was. People saw -5 +10 gone, and so they, in their heads, they made a judgment call. But Great Weapon Master now has -0 plus proficiency bonus, which is really just as good.
Yeah,
in fact, arguably better, especially at high, but more so at high levels. It scales, right? Much more so. So Great Weapon Master didn't get worse. It's just as good as ever, and maybe better. Sharpshooter, I think you can make a sharpshooter character and ignore sharpshooter now, or at least not necessarily ignore it, but it's one of many options that you don't necessarily need. And a part of it depends on certain DMs are more sticklers for half cover because somebody's in line of fire, but lots of DMs don't use it. If they don't use it, then the sharpshooter isn't doing much anymore, unless you get caught in melee, in which case there's a 50% chance you got a character who has Misty Steps or teleports, right? Bonus action teleports to move out. So I don't know if there is. I guess the successor to Sharpshooter is also Great Weapon Master, since you can use that with longbows and heavy crossbows now.
Do you recognize that comment, David?
I do not.
Emanation spells are broken guy. All right, let's look at
Ramen is a friend of mine who's in a game I play.
I'm almost positive you've played a game I ran too, right, Ramen? Like a MCDM draw steal game?
He has played with you.
Yeah. Okay, Cthulhu by Torchlight. So you got Welcome to the Mythos. Using this product, Passions and Dreadful Insights. Can you tell us a bit about the background rules or anything? Do you have any comment or additions to those?
I have skimmed them over, but I had nothing to do with writing any of the only things I was involved with were the subclasses, the spells, and the monsters.
So these are kind of like not meta currency, but they are role playing type things that kind of get added to bring the Cthulhu flavor to the system. Um, there are passions and dreadful insights.
I think passions is kind of of course, one of the elephants in the room of doing a modern Call of Cthulhu game is the old game had madness, right? And you can't use madness anymore, right? So I think passions was kind of the evolution. At least that's the way I read it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I think. And then dreadful insights, this is kind of a role-playing way to drag you into more and more danger in the game. And you kind of got to embrace the danger in a Cthulhu game. That's what you're there for. And then some backgrounds and beats. Any contributions here?
I did not. Had no part of these at all.
So I noticed the background has, 80 ability scores. And that was the thing about 2024 D&D that I think they kind of fumbled a little bit.
Yeah. The thing is they sprung that one out with the publication.
Yeah. Never saw it before.
So I think people kind of felt gut punched or blindsided by it as well.
It's easy enough to house rule to use the create your own background, but
it is, but you have to do the custom then, right? Yeah. And then as a player, you got to ask your DM, do I have to use the backgrounds, or can I, and it's unfortunate that it went that way. I think if they were to do it the way they did it, it needed to be done a little bit differently, because it's just a little too restrictive. I'm not sure. Maybe if they had not tied the origin feats, that might have helped.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's the whole thing. You really, as somebody who wants my character to be mechanically strong, I make a character and I feel like I don't have a choice of background.
Yeah.
You
get some new origin feats. I like these. They're pretty thematic to the system. I Fought, I Lived, origin feat, gain the following benefits while you are bloodied and hit with a spell or weapon attack. You can choose to treat the attack's damage roll as having rolled the maximum damage possible once you use this benefit. And you hit, not are hit. So you can do max damage at one time with an attack roll spell. And then Indomitable Heart, if you have Frightened, you can, at the start of your turn, 50-50 chance to lose that condition, 55-45 chance to lose that condition.
I like that they're doing something with bloodied. That's since they added it, I figure it is an untapped area for design, right?
Right. Someone asked in the chat if you can go mad, completely lose your sanity. I don't know for sure.
They don't really have the sanity mechanics anymore. It's the passions, right? Yeah.
Right. Sample passions, dreadful insights. So I think it could be just basically if you roleplay the dreadful insight, except it tends to pull you into a self-destructive path. You might become fascinated with the mythos sanity like Cthulhu, can be able to encounter it, so that's kind of the path that it's taking. That's a similar parallel path to that.
There's a lot of stuff that's just not said that, it's like something bad might happen. And then, DMs, what we're not allowed to say,
Right. Did you contribute any spells or review any of those?
I did contribute with the spells. The spells were actually included with the subclasses.
Oh, okay.
So I had done them at the same time, though there are some of them I didn't see, but I saw a lot of them. And I should mention, because this has come up multiple times since publication, there is a spell called Feline Chaos.
Yeah.
And the very first line of that spell was, each target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be affected by this spell for the duration. And it doesn't say what the targets are or how the targets are determined. So you have to guess. So I want to let everyone know what it originally said, because something happened in editing. So that was a warlock spell. So there it is. The original line used to say, "You conjure a pack of mischievous spectral house cats that wreak havoc across the area. Up to 6 creatures of your choice in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within range are swarmed by a horde of vexing cats."
Nice. And in theory, being on D&D Beyond, they can edit that at some point and fix it. Yeah. I don't know how that works with second-party publishers and how much of a delay you guys, well, it's not you, but how much delay Chaosium has to go through to get the things changed if they want to. So then you got Running Mythos, and I saw skill challenges came in here. And Mike, of course, was a big skill challenges guy, right? With 4th edition.
Yeah.
And it kind of went some of the same design ideas that Drosteal was using about how long it should take, and that should be just 2 rounds with like an intermission between the 2 rounds, and everyone's making contributions during each round.
It's kind of interesting how that works because, of course, Mike made 4th edition. Drosteal is definitely inspired by 4th edition,
yes,
and now
indeed.
he's taking his inspiration from Drosteal.
Yeah. Yep. So I like that. Then it has some complex skill challenges. So party size, how many failures you can have, what's a partial, what's a full. And again, you got 2 rounds. So you got to get 11 successes in 2 rounds. If you have 7 characters, 5 characters is 8 in 2 rounds. So I do like that kind of system. That's cool to see. Mythos Tomes, game rules, and then the monsters, which you contributed to. So you got the Great Cthulhu, who is CR 30. You got Dagon, who's CR 22. A lot of cool things in here.
Yeah, I'll tell you which ones I was involved in. Hang on. Got to find my notes.
So Brian, yeah, I think passions have become obsessions, or yeah.
Yeah, I was Shub Niggurath, Dagon, the Great Cthulhu. Maybe it was just those 3.
Shub Niggurath. Colossal Plant, Deity, CR 24, Legendary Resistance 4 per day, Legendary Action Uses 3. Looks like you stayed with the 2024 convention where they're all just 1 legendary action, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Let me get some more questions here. Mike is putting together a list of text fixes. There are a lot of small errors. Very good. It will get fixed. Very good. That's a great point, Ramen Goblin. Much more interesting to RP someone who is driven to do something because of experiences or obsessions over a question of sanity that carry a lot of baggage. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think it's a good way to do it. Question for Chris. Have you looked at Daggerheart?
I've play tested it a couple times.
Yeah.
And with you, I've play tested
with me
it.
one time. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. We were doing the airship one.
What are my thoughts? It's a very different style of role playing, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's more the way that the DM sets up a combat and then runs a combat is very different. Yeah. What the DM or GM is doing on their turns and how they determine how challenging things are is very different. And I am not a fan of the Daggerheart system for me, because it doesn't seem like the type of game like D&D where you set the challenge as the DM before the session, and then it's up to the players to figure out the tactics to beat the challenge you presented. With Daggerheart, there's too much. They're not doing well enough, so I think I'm just going to hang on to those extra actions and and let this one.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know. I figure there should be risk. I think you screwed up. Tough, you died.
Although Teos will tell you there was risk because I killed his character in that first play test.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very random system, right? Because you don't know how the dice are going to come out. You don't know if your turn's coming up next. You got to fight for your turn, unless you guys come up with some group. Oh, this is the order we're going in.
Oh, and Shadow Dark. Yeah, I'm not into Shadow Dark. I have play tested Shadow Dark multiple times.
Yeah.
and it's too simplistic for me.
What are BRP games?
I don't
Basic role playing. That's
Basic
the engine behind Call of
OSR
Cthulhu
kind of thing.
It's the engine behind Call of Cthulhu and RuneQuest. It's Chaosium's house system.
Oh, Chaosium's, okay.
Yeah.
And then Cade set me up here, but if you don't like Shadow Dark, you probably won't
David,
like
on the stream,
RPG.
you're like this.
Yeah. Hi there.
Oh, I missed the super chat from Cade. Cade, that's your second super chat. So you got 2 entries in the Dragon Spear Castle super chat, I'm pretty sure. That was Cade's question there. A lot of high Sierra monsters. What are the recommended player levels for this? Well, probably all levels, right?
there aren't. There's no adventure here.
Yeah.
These are this is like your little tiny monster manual that you can throw your monsters in at your whim as a DM.
Is there any discussion? I didn't look at the priest or the cleric subclasses about worshiping these deities, Cthulhu or Dagon or.
Well, kind of. I mean, there's the cleric subclass is the Apocalypse Domain, which is the cleric that is foretelling the end of the world.
Yeah.
And the old gods, of course, that's the whole thing, is if they're brought back, it will be the end of the world. So I don't think they're directly worshiping them.
They're not worshiping, they're just warning about
but they're warning about their coming. So it's kind of adjacent to that. Worshiping them, I think the weird thing about it is that these old gods don't give a crap about you.
Yeah.
Right. So are they going to give cleric spells? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then also Ray. Also, maybe I am confused, but is this a campaign or is this kind of a rule set? Extra monsters, but
not a campaign.
The latter. It's a rule set and some extra monsters.
What you could probably do is take existing Cthulhu adventures and convert them to be used in D&D, though timeline is a little bit different because Cthulhu usually takes place in our history and not that far back in our history.
Right.
So you'd need to probably do some setting things to make that work. But
one interesting 5th edition campaign had a little bit of aspects of this and kind of made me think of Beyond the Mountains of Madness was season 10, the Adventure League adventures for season 10. The party kind of interacts with some horror aspects of Beyond the Stars in that season. So if you're looking for an adventure, that's one idea. Plus there's a lot of Cthulhu adventures.
If you go back to 3.5, Age of Worms comes to mind.
Great one. Yeah, definitely. Ramen, I can attest that Chris is a good person to design high-level monsters, much more challenging than the high-scale monsters from other publications.
Ramen has been on the receiving end. But one thing Ramen always does is he comes up with, more so than I do, he's good at looking at a feature and not like, how good is this feature? He's more like, how can I use this feature in a way that nobody ever thought it could be used?
Yeah. Yeah, and when you get to the high levels, like we're at the high levels now, with David Scaredo's got a wish spell now, and I almost never DM up there, right? Almost never DM wish spell carrying characters, so it's always a challenge.
I'll be running 5 level 20 one shots here in August. Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
I do it all the time, and it always works out. If you play it enough, you know what the tricks are for the most part. And so when you design the encounters, you think right away, what would I do as a player in these situations? What kind of things do I got to think about? And what you have to try to do is you don't want to shut down the players entirely. Certainly in every combat, once in a while it's okay to go, whoops, that doesn't work. But you don't want to shut them down entirely, but you also don't want them to shut down the enemy entirely. And that's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah.
What I like is they try to shut down the enemy and maybe it has some effect, but not what they're hoping for, right? The enemy's going to have to use an action to take care of this or a legendary or something.
In the games you play, do your other players just go nuts with the optimizations? Is it
sometimes? Yeah. The games I run are for patrons.
Okay.
So these are people who watch my channel, right? And I do optimization content. So they're not all optimizers. Some aren't, and some are. But yeah, some are definitely try different things, and sometimes they come up with stuff that I didn't foresee.
Yeah.
And
just
it's like
just shut you down, and you're like, oh
yeah, or they find a way
night.
or we got an adventure and they find a way from point A to point F in one spell, and I'm like, oh, and it's like, well, you can do that. That will work. But our session's going to be an hour and a half. Is that what you want?
Yep. So any chance you go into any conventions anytime, like Gen Con, anything in Canada?
Yeah, my income has actually gone down a fair bit this year.
Yeah.
YouTube is paying a lot less than it used to pay.
Yeah.
And the initial excitement of 2024 has leveled off and slowed down a little bit. So I'm not really in a position to be doing a lot of work trips, right?
Yeah.
That are not income generating.
They're way too expensive, that's for sure, nowadays. Yeah. So speaking of tailing off, so how is, in your estimation, 2024 doing? You weren't around for 3.5, right?
Like
you were around, but were you doing videos for 3.5?
No, not videos. I did like handbooks at that time. Yeah.
Just trying to gauge, like, what do you think? How do you think it's performing overall? And do you think it'll pick up with the starter set coming out and Hellfire Club coming out?
No, I think it's slowed down, right? And I think what happened is you got Daggerheart, Draw Steel, and 100 other Shadow Dark, 100 other systems all coming out. They're all drawing a little bit of the crowd away. 2024 comes out. It is not revolutionary, right? It's tweaking. So and some people reasonably think would rather not learn the changes. I'll just stick with the D&D I'm playing. Then there's the people who leave to go play one of these other systems, and I think there's just less people left to play the 2024 version. It's still my favorite game out there right now. But yeah, I think it is a smaller audience than it was. But you can only go by gut feeling, right? And very circumstantial evidence. Like I can talk about views are down this year compared to before the 2024 rules, but then again, I hear that views are down for other people who don't do 2024 content. So, it's hard to say what, correlation does not equal causation, right?
Right.
We're not necessarily equal causation. So I don't know for sure, but my instinct is that there is a smaller audience for 2024 than there was for D&D 2 years ago.
Kate had a question. What do you want more of going forward? What do you want less of going forward in D&D? If you were in charge, what would be the products this year, next year?
Okay. I think if I was in charge of D&D, I'd be thinking about 6th edition.
A whole new edition?
I would be thinking about it. I wouldn't be announcing it.
Yeah.
But I'd be making little notes whenever I thought of things that I'd want to do that are significantly different than what there is now. And what I would be doing is I'd be looking at the frustrations that didn't get resolved or were created in the new system and looking for solutions. For example, I'd be looking at releasing maybe a book with a bunch of new Ranger subclasses in it, and have them be better than the original Ranger subclasses, and maybe even step on the toes of, and look at ways to fix within the subclasses I happen to have been thinking about this recently, and I'm doing something on my own, even without being in charge of anything.
Yeah.
But I think you got the Hunter's Mark thing, right? The forced into Hunter's Mark. I think there's two ways to handle that, and I think every subclass should have one of two ways to deal with that. Number one, the subclass makes Hunter's Mark good. Number two, they have a different way to use their use of Hunter's Mark for a subclass feature, right? Because you have certain number of uses of favored and enemy, right? So you could use a use of favored enemy to do something else thematic to the subclass. And I think every ranger should have one of those two things.
Have you played any of the D&D maps? What VTT do you use when you play?
I usually, when I run, I use Roll20. Roll20. Just because it's what I've always used and I'm comfortable with it. In the campaigns I'm playing in, one of them's on Foundry. And that's pretty good. I don't mind Foundry. I've tried maps. Math Guy Dave, who is on your chat, ran maps, and I played in that, and it was okay, but it's not great. It was at the time. Now that was a while ago, but at the time we played it, there were things that we wanted to be able to do that it couldn't do. Someone, a patron of mine, has been running on Above VTT. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's good. I like it. Yeah, I was quite impressed with it. So Above VTT, I would recommend for people to check it out. So those are the ones I played on. I used to play on Fantasy Grounds, but Windows management was a big problem on that one, so I gave up on it.
Doug, I'm not sure what your question is here. You're saying, do you think some of the friction of D&D 2024 was intentional to clear a path for 6th edition to resolve these pain points? I doubt they intentionally made a bad product.
No, I can't see. I can't see. I think it was the best product they could do.
Make.
I do think it was largely influenced by pressures to not change too much, and that didn't necessarily help things.
Well, I think there was some pressure to change enough to encourage folks to buy the new set of character options. And ironically, when they intended to extend the life of 5th edition, they probably succeeded in shortening the life of 5th edition, because
I think so.
My sense is that a lot of people are feeling in the same way you are, that maybe this makes me feel like I want to see 6th edition a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, the lifespan of this one can't be the same as 5th edition, right? This 5.5, because it's not different enough that we're going to do the new stuff, and then we're going to start feeling edition fatigue, and it's going to come on sooner because it wasn't as big a departure, right?
Right. Yeah, and I always feel edition fatigue at the end of any edition because there are so many options. You can't but help have things that, when they combine, are overpowered, and you end up getting just a situation where you got to start house ruling more and more and more stuff if you have good players who can
that was one nice thing about 5.5 is although it was backwards compatible, it did give you permission to say, you know what, I've had enough of Silvery Barbs, I've had enough of Twilight Clerics.
Yes,
they're gone. we're not carrying those over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I would play a lot of organized play where you're in theory supposed to use the rules as they are, and I'd have to come up with some really interesting ways of reading the rules to stop just the super overpoweredness of that ranger healing. I forget what it was. Remember when that came out? Healing. Rangers had a thing, spirit healer or something like that, where they could basically.
That was druid, right?
I thought it was ranger too.
Oh, you're thinking of healing spirit.
Healing spirit. Yeah. God, that was so powerful. And Silvery Barbs is really powerful. Yeah. You just get more and more stuff like that. And people were looking for, they didn't want to just buy an errata to 5th edition, I don't think. But at the same time, you have a big crowd that says, "No, don't. I bought all this stuff. Don't make a whole new edition." Well, okay, but you're not buying anything else, so
yeah. If you bought all that stuff and you're happy with it, then screw you.
stay
Right?
with it.
We're not working for you because
Right.
you're not. Yeah, you're not our audience.
Yeah.
I mean, don't screw you as in, enjoy your game, but don't think that you should be able to give feedback on a product you have no interest in.
Yeah. That's what the internet does. Everyone can give feedback on everything, even though they don't care.
Yeah.
A lot of that. So I'll be at Gen Con, leaving tomorrow. Going to be playing some of the Legends of Greyhawk. That'll be fun. They are a complete reset to just the 2024 Player's Handbook. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Question for you. You would know this probably. You probably researched it deeply. 2-weapon fighting, Nick, weapon mastery. Makes it so normally your offhand attack is a bonus, but it makes it so it's part of your regular attack. And then there is, I think the intent is that's all there is, but then there is some feats. Dual weapon mastery,
wielder,
I think it is. Dual wielder.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the wording set to match, so it introduces another way you can use that bonus action to make another attack.
All right. So here's what I know about that.
Yeah.
So Monty Martin from Dungeon Dudes was at Gen Con last year and interacted with Jeremy Crawford, who was drunk at a bar. And he said, "How's dual wielder supposed to work?"
Yeah.
This is what I'm told secondhand that the drunken Jeremy Crawford told to Monty. Is basically, you dual wielder gives you one more attack as a bonus action, right? So if let's say you have extra attack and you have your 2 weapons, so you have short sword and a scimitar, and then you're attacking. Your Nick attack is part of your attack action, and then you can do a dual wielder attack as a bonus action.
Okay, so the intent was it's a 1 extra attack.
Yeah,
interesting. You kind of get the same thing.
So you could make 4 attacks with extra attack.
Yeah, and that could really pile on if you got something like Hunter's Mark, right? So you're going to want to stack.
Though Hunter's Mark is going to have trouble with that bonus action, right?
True. Yeah. True. You got to cast with the bonus, right?
Yeah. When people talk online, Hunter's Mark doesn't use a bonus action.
Yeah.
Right. They always talk like it doesn't use up all your bonus actions, but it does. You're going to be using your bonus action on Hunter's Mark every single round or pretty close to it. And then you're going to have taken this feat that you're not going to be using.
Do you know what he means by this? Where's the twig?
The twig is a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah. And the twig also does optimization content and rules analysis.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about it. David, do you have anything, last questions or anything?
Well, let me just take 1 minute, Chris, to tout your last video. I think it was your last video where you compare the original version of these class features versus what your feedback was and what the eventual outcome is. I thought that was fascinating, even though I'm not that interested in class feature design. And that should be required viewing for anybody who is interested in how the sausage should be made for D&D classes. Really terrific.
I've got to give credit to Chaosium because I knew that idea had a small chance of being accepted by them, right? Because it's showing off things in the video that would not normally be showed off, and they were great. They said, "Yeah, do that. That sounds good." And I sent them a copy of the video before it was posted, and they're like, "It's great." So good for them for letting me do that. But I thought it would be interesting for people to see exactly how the sausage is made, because you don't see it, right? And I didn't know what it was until I was involved, and then I'm like, this is kind of interesting. I'd like to be able to share this with people.
Yeah, even if it sounds too arcane and technical and you're not that interested in game design, still fascinating.
Yeah. And Cade, are projects I'm working on right now that I can't talk about? No, there aren't. Hopefully again soon. But at the moment, I'm just doing videos, and I'm thinking about my own stuff. I this did kind of plant a seed that I would like to do some subclasses that are not with Mike, that are just me, and then maybe not even release for money, maybe just release.
I think if you did for money, you'd sell the heck out of it.
Maybe.
For sure. If you came up with your rules for D&D, you'd sell the heck out of it.
Yeah, but then there's a lot of work. Then I need art, and so I got to hire an artist, and I need graphics design. I need a blah 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 blah. If I release stuff for free, I could probably find volunteers. Maybe.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And then I don't have to feel crappy about asking people to volunteer, because I'm not making money off it either, except for like putting it out on YouTube for whatever YouTube pays me, which is not much these days.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Chris. Thank you everyone for watching. Next week, we're going to have Chubby Funster talking about Shadow Dark stuff. He is pretty prolific in all the stuff he writes for that system, and I'm excited to talk with him about that. And it's great to have you on again, Chris, and maybe sometime I'll run a Cthulhu adventure.
Invite me if you do, and if I can make it, I will.
All right. Bye, everyone.